Hi, everybody. Jennifer Phillips here again, Program Lead for Network Collaboration at Digital Benefits Network. So yesterday, we heard from state leaders Julia Almendarez Dale and Michelle Thomas, who are blazing new trails in digital benefits delivery. And today, we're going to focus on how digital benefit change initiatives reach, takeoff, velocity, and scale. So I am so excited to introduce you all to two amazing leaders this afternoon who are moving ideas from concept to fruition. They're going to share what they think it takes not only to get public benefit initiatives off the ground, but what it takes to sustain, scale, and replicate them. We're going to hear first from Darnell Sessoms from the New York City Mayor's Office of Economic Opportunity talking about the MyFile project, and then I will introduce Ruthie Nakmani from New Jersey's Office of Innovation, who's going to be talking about the partnership with the New Jersey Department of Labor on UI modernization. And one fun fact about both of them is that they both have anthropology degrees. So Darnell Sessoms holds over a decade of experience in product management. He's a native New Yorker, and he brings his own lived experience of navigating city services to his role as product director at the New York City Mayor's Office for Economic Opportunity. He has previously held roles at publisher John Wiley & Sons, where he was a digital delivery manager and a senior integrated solution specialist. Darnell has taught product management to high school students virtually with America's On Tech Career Mentorship Program, as well as adult literacy classes at the Brooklyn Public Library. He holds an MA in Communications Management and Technology from NYU and a BA in Anthropology from Skidmore College. Darnell and his family currently reside in Queens. And I would like to bring Darnell up. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Hope you all had a good lunch. So I'm here to talk to you about our document sharing pilot that we're doing at NYC. So again, I'm Darnell. I'm the Director of Product at the Mayor's Office of Economic Opportunity. We are one of many mayor's offices. This one particularly happens to focus on increasing equity in the city and decreasing poverty in the city. So instead of talking to you about MyFile, I thought I'd just actually start off by showing you how New York City residents are introduced to the product. So this is a video that is playing right now in one of the NYC intake centers. And play.
Did you know you can submit your family's documents to PATH using your phone? The MyFile NYC website lets families upload and share documents, such as their birth certificate, driver's license, and social security card, with PATH for services. MyFile NYC is easy and safe, with enhanced security that keeps your family's important documents the next time you need them. To get started, go to myfile.nyc.gov on your phone, or scan the QR code on the screen. Then log in with your Access HRA account. If you don't have one, create a new NYC account using your email address. Don't forget to confirm your email. Need help? Ask a PATH Center employee for more information.
So this is what's actually playing at the PATH Center on loop. And I would ask everyone, actually, please don't go to this website. The video is not for you. It's for folks at the PATH Center. This is live in production, and I don't want documents to be sent to the PATH team because they will kill me. So just going to back up a little bit. So talk a little bit first about like what the actual MyFile product is, but to talk about the vision, particularly in homeless services, our goal is to be able to see how we can get families from shelter to permanent housing at an accelerated pace. Very simply, clearly is that. But MyFile has applications like far beyond that. It could be used for any service. So our partners, I talked a little bit about the PATH Center. This is what it looks like. It's in the South Bronx next to Yankee Stadium. PATH is a part of the New York City Department of Homeless Services, and it's the central intake center for families who are seeking shelter in NYC. So they all arrive at the PATH Center and then get placed in temporary shelter. We also have wonderful partners in the New America Foundation, who is a DC-based think tank. I'm actually going to have coffee with her right after this conference. So pilot design. We worked with New America, who worked with the city of Baltimore on a similar pilot to be able to design the pilot. There were many iterations of the NICO team who's worked on this pilot. Generally what we did is co-design the pilot with the PATH Center, so thinking about what are the challenges that those folks are facing, what digital tools they're already using, and how we might be able to integrate what we're doing into their current workflow. We partner with New America and different vendors to be able to update the code that we inherited. So we inherited open source code base, but we needed to update that code, bring it up to NYC standards, and also update the user experience. We also needed to make sure we were compliant. Thank you. We also needed to make sure we were compliant with these security standards and authentication. We had a lot of fun legal conversations. Fun is a weird word for legal conversations, but we had a lot of those. Our goals for the first version of MyFile NYC when we launched it in August 2022 was to see if it can be a safe place for families to be able to share documents with PATH for quicker services, and also a secure place for them to be able to do that as well. For the PATH Center, we wanted to be able to improve their document process, right? And if this worked, we wanted to be able to scale it. Work. Here we go. All right. Our results. So for the first phase of the pilot, which ran for approximately 3 months, we saw 159 families enroll in MyFile NYC. 69% of those families actually uploaded documents into the tool, and 56% of that 159 actually went ahead and shared those documents with the PATH Center for Services. Some of our initial learnings from phase 1 of the pilot, what went well, probably the most significant thing, is that PATH saw value in the actual tool itself. New York City has one of the most complex homeless agencies in the country. It's very large. So for those folks to be able to say hey, you just introduced a new piece of technology, this is working for us, we want it to keep going, that's the most positive sign of that this is going well for us. So we took that, our hearts were filled. Generally, it was easy for families to use once they got past the login process. We'll talk about that in a second. And it was also easy for the staff who were receiving those documents to be able to go ahead and do the business that they were doing, right? So for a pilot, we didn't want to do system integrations. We didn't want to make this too heavy. We really wanted to see how those folks were already working. Sometimes they get documents by email. So MyFile essentially sends them an email that says, hey, someone uploaded a document, log in, download that document. So not too dissimilar from what those folks are already doing. So really meeting them where they are. Some of the challenges that we had was building trust and awareness. This was a particular poignant point on language needs and access. We had launched the pilot only in English. A vast majority of the folks who were coming to PATH Center at that time, English was not their primary language, Spanish was. So we were missing a really huge population of folks who couldn't really take advantage of it. There were some UX challenges as well. It wasn't as well polished as it is now. One of the biggest UX challenges, though, was the login process. We use NYC ID, which is NYC's central login system. So there were a lot of just general challenges and usability issues with trying to integrate that into MyFile NYC and explaining to folks. So you saw in the video, we paid a lot of attention towards telling folks how to actually log in at that point, use your Access HRA account. We also had limited staff, just like most governments. New York City was faced with a really particular hiring challenge during that time, and our team was asked to do 50,000 things. They rose to the occasion, but it meant that there was less time spent on that pilot. How we responded to those challenges. The video that you saw earlier, that is playing at the PATH Center as I speak here right now. It is on a 24-hour loop. PATH operates 24/7. So the real point of that video is to be able to let folks know about MyFile NYC. So as they are sitting in the waiting room, waiting for the documents to be processed or to get into shelter, figure out what their assignment is, they're consistently hearing about it and building that awareness. Another thing was really focusing on language accessibility, right? So making sure that it's available in all of NYC's 11 local law languages and not doing machine translation, but human translation so that we can make sure that we're getting the particulars of service delivery correct. Machine translation is great. Human translation is still better. We also did a lot of printed materials as well. You can see a lot of those on the table right there and on this very iPad that I'm holding right here that we used. For UX improvements, we focused a lot on like the login process again. So you heard a little bit earlier. That video, like about a good 10% of it is actually more, like 30% of it. It's just really focused on login, right? So if folks have like an Access HRA account, which is what the city uses for Snap, that's like the platform we use for Snap, those folks can actually use that same account to log into like MyFile NYC. So we focused a lot on making sure folks could actually log into the service. Also multi-page documents. The code that we inherited only had the ability to do one document at a time. So if someone has a 5-page lease, they're taking 5 individual photos, those were getting saved as 5 individual documents, when it's really just one. So we wanted to improve that UX. And for the staff, as they were getting more and more applicants and families like enrolling, we wanted to make sure it was easy for them to be able to search through those applicants and the documents and also sort those things. So paid a lot of attention to like the staff experience as well. And probably one of the biggest wins for us is being able to expand our team. Through the support of the New America Foundation, we were able to hire a full-time product implementation lead, a UX designer that was dedicated towards it, and also a front-end engineer that was dedicated toward it. So we had like a nice little like MyFile crew that was able to take that information, able to work on the product full-time to make sure we were really paying attention to, we have people's birth certificates now stored. We need to pay like attention to that. And also being able to give the staff the support that they need to make sure that the pilot was a success. For phase 2, we really wanted to see if addressing the challenges that I outlined in phase 1 would lead to wider adoption and improved experiences for families and for staff. We also wanted to see, was it a scalable and sustainable product, right? It's great if we could build it once. If we can't maintain it or scale it, doesn't really matter. Well, it does, learnings, but we want it to be in production. Our results for phase 2, which ran from February to December of 2023, we set a goal of reaching 500 families. We exceeded that goal. High five to the team. We had 565 families who enrolled in MyFile NYC. Also pay attention to the number right here. So 80% of families actually started uploading documents and 62% of families shared documents. That is higher than the previous slide I showed in phase 1. So some of the things that we were doing, we saw were working. So what's next for us? We inherited great code through open source. It was really like a springboard for us to be able to like test the pilot out and test the technology out, the concept out, without us like over-investing so much like energy in actually building something from like scratch or purchasing something from a vendor for like a lot of money. However, that technology had its limitations. So we decided to rebuild MyFile NYC from the ground up. The 3 things that we're doing in terms of building it up for version 3. One is a new data model. So the data model essentially refers to all of the data that's collected about a document, so who it belongs to, what type of document it is, so on and so on, and also the actual family members themselves. This new data model is going to enable other city agencies or even jurisdictions to use MyFile NYC to share and receive documents. Also new infrastructure and tech stack. Again, the tech stack that we had, it was really difficult to work with. So when Path was giving us feedback, some of our engineers were just like, I don't know what this tech stack is, never heard of it. So it wasn't built on something modern. So we really wanted to be able to make sure it's a modern tech stack, that it's more secure, so that it's easier to iterate, maintain, and scale. And also an improved user experience. Some of the new features that we're launching is agency-based workflows. So different agencies, even different programs within the same agency, can have very different application processes, and we really needed to be able to accommodate and account for those things. We also introduced document checklists, so folks aren't just uploading just different documents, but we can have like a lot cleaner data, so folks could be able to say, hey, for this particular program, you need a birth certificate, you need 2 months of income. Another program may say you actually need 3 months of income proof. So we wanted to be able to like account for the different nuances in that. And re-uploading. Let's say that an agency says, hey, this birth certificate's a little bit blurry, the photo you took of it has your entire body, we actually just want this small little piece of your ID, right? So we wanted to be able to improve that for them to say like, hey, please re-upload this, here's the reason why I need you to re-upload it. This will enable us to operationalize MyFile NYC at the Path Center with some of the new features that I just mentioned, but also thinking about change management. I'm sure all of you know that it's not just the technology, but it's also a lot of the service delivery pieces as well that makes the product a success. So really being able to like work with Path over the past year to see, This is great in pilot mode. What does this look like for you to operationalize in a building that operates 24/7 with like pre-established processes? How can we make sure that this goes well for you? And make it as the digital option _option. Path will always still continue to accept like physical documents, but we want to be able to give them a better digital option for themselves and for families. This will also enable us to be able to launch new pilots. Right now, we are working on launching a pilot with City FEPS, which is a housing voucher program, and onboard them onto it. So we're kind of going to go from all the way from the shelter entry to now like getting permanent housing, going back to the vision that we set. We don't have every intake center onboarded. NYC has 3 intake centers. One is for families with children, which is where we're operating now. There's another one for single adults and another for adult families, and we want to be able to onboard those folks as well to take advantage of it. And open source. We are working with New America right now to create a white label version of the new tech stack that we're building so that other agencies, other governments, such as yourself, could be able to use our code so you don't have to start from scratch. Just some general insights and principles for success for us. One of the really big ones for me is flipping the model on its head about like how folks actually submit documents. More often than not, you are asked to upload a document for a particular service. It goes into a black box. You never see it again. The city's going to ask you for that same document again, even though we already have it and own it. This really kind of flips that model on its head and says, hey, you could actually just keep your documents in a safe and secure thing. And when you need to share it for a particular service, you can choose who you want to share it with and unshare it with. So really like focusing on providing the agency to the actual users of the platform, but the city gets a benefit too, right? So we're able to make the collection and management of those documents much more efficient for the agencies who are receiving and processing those documents. Just some general principles. I can talk about open source all day. I feel like I'd be preaching to the choir here, but you don't need to start from scratch. We didn't start from scratch. We did end up replatforming and rebuilding, but we were only able to do this work because we had a really strong like foundational code base that we were able to get from open source. We want to be able to give back that open source code base with the new work that we're doing. I could just sit here and speak volumes and volumes about the great city partners that we have. DHS is some of the most dedicated public servants I've ever seen and worked with. So having those sorts of partners and also partners like New America like really made this, right? So it's not just government, but it's also like different partners coming together to make this work happen. And we have a super dedicated product team. And the last one is trust and awareness. So that's like really key for adoption. I talked a little bit about building the trust and awareness like with the families themselves, but there's also building trust and awareness with the actual staff that are using it, right? We're going to like one of the most complicated homeless services agencies in the country and say like, hey, can we test having documents uploaded, right? That's like a really big ask, right? So it really involves like going in person, like really like being mindful of those folks like schedules. So when we go to Path, the Path Center, I know that I'm gonna be there all day, even if I have a meeting that's at 11 a.m., right? My meeting might happen actually at like 1:30 p.m., right? And it's not a lack of time or anything in that sense, but those folks like operating like in real time, like helping people. So we really need to be flexible in building that trust with them. And in closing, I just want to say thank you so much to the dedicated staff and team at the DHS Path Center. Fun fact, MyFile NYC won an award at the NYC Tech Forum last year for the best IT collaboration. This is a photo of the wonderful public servants at Path Center plus some of the members of my team. I'm actually wearing these pants right now. I was going to wear that shirt. I'm really glad I didn't. That would have been embarrassing. I forgot about that. You think I only have one outfit. But I want to say thank you so much to them, but also thank you to the wonderful cast of characters and circled faces you see down here who are right now back in our office in Brooklyn working on making the next version of MyFile NYC possible. So it wouldn't be possible without them. And I'll just leave you with this. If you do want to connect to talk very specifically about the New York City use case, you can contact me. But if you want to talk about leveraging the white label version of the product, you can contact Allison Price, who is a fantastic partner at New America and working with different governments to be able to bring that to them. And with that, I will yield my time to the great state of New Jersey.
Fantastic. Thank you again, Darnell. That was amazing. So I'd like to introduce Ruthie Nakamani, who is the product lead. Oh, I'm going to flip to the next slide. There we go. Ruthie is the product lead at the New Jersey Office of Innovation, where she guides product strategy and delivery for unemployment insurance modernization, which is the largest public sector tech modernization in the state of New Jersey. She's also a member of the State AI Task Force Internal Steering Committee and is currently in the process of standing up a new team that's focused on platform at the Office of Innovation. And prior to joining the Office of Innovation in New Jersey, Ruthie spent 10 years as a product manager, a founder, and an engineer. She has done such things as building solutions for COVID response and workplace safety and health that were recognized by Fast Company's World-Changing Ideas Award. She's launched a new electronic health record system, established a developer evangelism program, and developed a common application for small business owners seeking financing. In her personal life, Ruthie fosters opportunities for communities of practice to share work by organizing meetups and speaker series that have incubated startups, nonprofits, research collaborations, and by producing experiences that allow creators to bring new work to life. And like Darnell, she studied anthropology at Princeton and is originally from New York City, but has the friendly competition with New York, New Jersey. Sorry. Ruthie, welcome.
Thank you, Darnell. That was awesome. And thank you to everybody here. I've learned so much over the last 2 days from all the speakers, attendees, and organizers of BenCon, and I'm so grateful. Again, I'm Ruthie Nachmani. I'm a product lead at the Office of Innovation for the state of New Jersey. And today in this session about takeoff velocity, rocket fuel, and continuing forward momentum, I'm going to talk about some ways we've been working to make unemployment easier for New Jersey residents, and along the way, how we've developed products, platforms, and processes to create better digital service delivery across the state of New Jersey. My dream for BenCon 2025 is to hear you give this talk. In all seriousness, I hope there's some nuggets here that are helpful for you with whatever problem space that you're working on. I want to start by talking about some of the work we've done to improve our call centers in New Jersey for unemployment insurance and beyond. So in 2022, we realized we had a very significant problem because we have amazing call center staff. You can see desks of 2 of our call center staff here. I think you can see some of their personality come through in their desks. They're incredibly dedicated, hardworking, empathetic, and knowledgeable. And at the same time, this is a real-life photo of what was happening at our call centers. We were hitting peak capacity many days by 9:30 in the morning, at which point we had to literally turn our call centers off to ensure that people weren't waiting on hold, not able to get through to an agent. That's obviously not the standard of customer experience we want to provide to New Jersey residents. Not only that, while we knew we had a very significant problem, we didn't even know the scale of the problem because we weren't able to collect how many calls were coming through and not being answered because we had to turn off those phone systems. So we also couldn't figure out how we could make the call centers better and other parts of our system better to start to impact those numbers. So we needed a better system, one that we could make changes to more easily, one that we could collect data about where we weren't serving need, basically a cloud-based modern call center. We decided to start really small. We just made a better call center menu, a little bit more plain language, a little bit clearer to understand. We also added better Spanish translations and did user testing with call center agents and people who were calling in to figure out if this was clear. We put that in our new cloud-based call center. We routed calls there, and we mapped that back to our old call center. This also let us to store that call volume and call reasons. At this point, we took a step back and we realized the technology we'd been using for the unemployment insurance call center was the same system most call centers in the state were using. And so we thought possibly someone else needed this too. At the Office of Innovation, we looked at 2 programs we've been working with around paid family and medical leave and property tax relief. We floated this by them, and they were very interested in trying it out. We were able to set this up quickly for them because of the work we'd done with unemployment insurance. And they had some more ideas for how this could be more helpful, such as adding dashboards. We worked with them to set that up. It helped validate that our new system was much easier to make improvements to, and then we fed that back into all 3 of these call centers. So you can see the virtuous cycle that starts happening here. We've now expanded to 11 call centers with a 12th coming soon. Again, they keep informing one another. We keep building new features for one, scaling them out across the board. I just want to emphasize that this is not a solution we could have built if we were sitting in a room and thinking, we want to build the best call center for New Jersey, or even we want to build a new call center for New Jersey. It was very important to go deep into one program, really deeply understand their needs, move out to a few more, work with people who are willing to try new things and test out solutions that could help us significantly improve customer experience. And so that's the strategy that was effective for us to be able to get to this point. And just want to highlight some of the impact here. Just on unemployment, we're able to serve 60,000 more claimants per year. For our tax relief program, people were waiting 40 minutes on average. Now they're waiting 90 seconds on average. We're significantly improving our call resolution rates. So all of these are things that we're really proud of. I want to talk now about one of the pieces of information we're able to get from collecting those call reasons. We saw that many people were calling in to get their claim status. Now this was really interesting because we actually did have a claim status page, which you can see here. This is something the unemployment insurance team stood up very quickly during the pandemic, and it served a really important need then, but it clearly wasn't doing enough because people were calling into the call centers to try to get their claim status. So either they didn't know that this page existed, or they knew that it existed and still weren't getting the information they wanted. So we wanted to understand more. We realized we needed a claim status page that would be easier for people to understand and take action on. We set up a new page, and we basically used our old claim status page as an API that went back in and integrated with our legacy system. So you can kind of see a high-level version of the architecture here. And then we started pulling in additional data sources there, such as identity verification information, Salesforce information, et cetera, to help people have a more granular perspective on where their claim was stuck and what actions they could take to do next. We also used the New Jersey Web Design Standards components here, which is built off of the US Web Design Standards components. So again, building off of great work other people have done. I want to specifically bring your attention to the footer of this page where we ask people if they found what they were looking for, yes or no. I'll zoom in here. This is a really key tool that we have on this claim status page, where people are able to tell us, we care both if they found what they were looking for, if they didn't find what they were looking for, but we're especially interested to get feedback on what they were looking for that they weren't able to find. We use that information to help us prioritize new features and understand where we can do a better job. We also collect emails and use that to do we create a user testing group through that we can do user research on to help us do a better job. I'll show some of the impact here. We've now scaled to 11 programs across the state. We have almost 50,000 comments that we're able to use to understand how we can do better. Just on unemployment insurance, we have 15,000 people who we can now talk to figure out if we can do a better job and incorporate their feedback there. This is also open source, and I'll include a link at the end, so anyone can use this as well. And this is what it looks like to visualize the impact of this. We're interested in moving that green line up and to the right, so we're happy to see graphs like this, but basically this helps us track as we continue to release improvements. Are we making an impact? Are we giving people what they're looking for here? I want to zoom in on October 2023, because you can see a really significant jump in people finding what they were looking for. This is when we started making identity verification improvements. So let's zoom in on that a little bit. During the pandemic, we introduced identity verification to the unemployment insurance process. I wanted to highlight exactly what it looks like here because there's a few key points that I think are really interesting. We added identity verification after the application process. We often see that people put verification before the application process. There are two key reasons why we did this. First of all, in unemployment insurance, your date of claim is really important for the benefit you ultimately receive. And so we didn't want to put anything that would get in the way of as early a date of claim as possible, especially if there were like user experience challenges or anything like that that we could start to improve. So we put verification after application to do that. And so kind of see what that looks like here. And so with the feedback widget, we started to get comments about identity verification. We brought that together with some feedback we were hearing from our support agents. As soon as we introduced identity verification, basically our agents started telling us, people are really struggling. This is the #1 issue people are calling about. And these calls are taking a lot longer than our other calls. So this was part of the reason why we were seeing call centers hit capacity so early in the day. And at the same time, once we started to collect those call reasons, we actually saw that very few people were selecting that they were calling about identity verification. And so there was this dissonance that was happening. And that was really interesting. And then with these types of questions we were getting about identity verification through the feedback widget, we're able to piece together some hypotheses, such as Many people see that their claim is stuck, but they don't know why. And it's actually because of identity verification. Someone who understands how to unblock them, like a support agent, can see that that is the reason they're stuck, and they're not aware of that. They also don't know that they need to verify at this point in time in the process, or they have verified, they don't know how to confirm that it went through, or they don't know what to do next. So we had some hypotheses to build on and start to release improvements through. We started with making better emails. We always love to start with better communication. You can see this model with what we did with the call centers as well. It's a really lightweight way to start making improvements and put something better into people's hands. You can see the before and after. The after is, I think, pretty clearly easier to understand what to do next. And so we sent that first email out after you submitted your application, the second one out after you completed your verification. We also added your identity verification status to the claim status page, before and after here as well. We initially set this up in a really quick and dirty way. We just looked at we have a database table that tracks what emails we've sent out. We matched someone's email address for their claim status page with that table to see if we'd sent them a confirmation email letting them know that their verification had gone through. And if that email wasn't in the table, then we showed them they still need to verify their identity. This was not a perfectly one-to-one with completed identity verification, but it erred on the side of showing some people who had verified that they still need to verify over showing people who hadn't verified that they were good to go. And that was really the situation we wanted to prevent here. We wanted to make sure that everybody could get through the process as quickly as possible to receive their benefits. And then we did a deeper integration with our identity verification provider's API. This also allowed us to host the flow on a state site. You can see the before and after here. In addition to design and information architecture, it's also on a state site, and I can say personally I would much rather upload my social security number and driver's license to the second site versus the first. I also just want to highlight a quick hack here. We used a short link for our new URL. It's 10 characters as opposed to the 40 characters of the first URL. And so little things like this made it a lot easier for our support center agents to read out a URL to people calling in for help about identity verification, and all of these chipped away at time savings and user improvements we were able to make on identity verification. You can see we've had a really significant decrease in calls about identity verification, really significant increase in people completing verification immediately after submitting their application, and we're also saving a lot of money per month. 2 agencies in the state have introduced identity verification since, and we've talk them through how we balanced equity, access, and fraud prevention, and trying to promote that balance there throughout the state, and more agencies are looking at this now too. I'll wrap up by talking about some of the experiments we're doing with AI to figure out how we can do all of the work I've talked about until now better. And I just want to set the stage that all this foundational work I've discussed around call centers, around feedback, claim status, and identity verification, all the processes we've developed have all given us a perspective to understand where generative AI can be helpful for us. We know that not every program in the state has that same foundation, and so we really think there's a responsibility to give back to the state by identifying opportunities where generative AI can help us do our work better. I'll talk about a few examples here. We're using generative AI to categorize and analyze the feedback from the feedback widget, again, for this process of prioritizing and understanding what features we can work on to make significant improvements. We're exploring using generative AI to help us draft better emails and letters. This is just one tool in our toolkit for making better emails. You can see, again, design also improved here. We have a toolkit that you can actually use that I'll link to at the end. But generative AI is part of the process of scaling out these better emails. We've made over 100 new emails so far. We've seen a really significant improvement. 75% of people who've received our new emails find them clearer to understand, and it's clearer to see what actions to take next after reading the emails. This is a project we're doing with US Digital Response. We're developing plain language English and Spanish glossaries of common terms on unemployment insurance, testing those with folks, and then using that to train a generative AI model to scale out a human-centered translation at scale. So this is something we're still just testing out and learning about, but we're excited to see where it goes. And then we're just figuring out, how do we build with AI? How do we figure out what are the right projects? How do we test out different models, figure out which one works for our use case, and as they evolve, which one we might want to swap out, how do we procure, deploy, and train both technical and non-technical teams on building with AI. We'll talk about how we've fed that into work that's now available to all public sector employees in the state of New Jersey. We have the New Jersey AI Assistant. This is a wrapper around something like ChatGPT or Claude, but it's an internal sandbox that you can use to do things like analyze feedback or draft better emails. We also have statewide AI training that covers things like ethics in AI, how does generative AI work, and how you can get started with examples from different agencies. We're also expanding these trainings beyond the state of New Jersey. We've worked with Innovate US. These two on the left are trainings we've already done about responsible AI for public professionals, how you can use generative AI at work, and at the bottom is the project we've done with US Digital Response that I mentioned. And there's one coming up, I think it's on October 1st, with our CTO, Chris Ryan, about some ways New Jersey is using AI to do better. So I'd encourage you to check it out if you're interested. So going back to the theme of the session, takeoff, velocity, rocket fuel, and continuing forward momentum. When I think about takeoff velocity, I think about how we find small improvements and start getting feedback quickly. And then that rocket fuel that helps us keep going is finding shared patterns within our program areas and also cross-program adoption so we can develop better solutions more easily, more quickly, and keep going on that feedback cycle there. And then when we think about continuing forward momentum, I think about how we can help other programs build off of the work we're doing, how we can build in public, how we can all support each other in this work so that we can ultimately provide forward momentum for the people that we serve. Very long list of thank yous. This is just a partial list of the many people who are involved in all of these projects. And here's a list of resources, including some things you can use here. So if there's anything else that's not listed that you want, please reach out. I've included my email here. Thank you so much.